welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with a guy. Hey, I'm Justin the Guy. So today we're gonna wrap up this Rocky Mountain literally with bar tape and finishing off and getting it ready to be pictured up to go on my site. So yeah, this one took a little bit of time to do, not necessarily because of it was challenging, it was because my life is challenging. So, you know, distractions and what have you. You know, birthdays, events to plan, and family and everything. But anyway, I was able to finally get to this finish line. And here we are. I'm going to be putting some tape on this, but what I found, I mean, I was like, I have other colors of tape. I have some white, I have some blue, I have some red. And I was like, oh, what kind of color bar tape should I put on this? You know, bar tape should be fun, right? And colors and so forth. But I realized over time, in looking at my inventory that's hanging on my ceiling, that I have a lot of bikes that have colored bar tape. And it makes me wonder, does bar tape actually predict or prevent or slow down a sell of a bike? Probably. And you know, for me, you know, I was like, oh, that'd be fun to throw on a little bit of blue on a blue bike or what have you. And apparently I have more colored bar tape bikes in stock now than black bar tape. So I'm going to stick with black bar tape this time around. Yeah, it's one of those things that you wouldn't think it'd cause a disruption of your sales, but the overall look of a bike, that kind of thing. So if you're thinking about selling a bike, one of your own road bikes and thinking about switching out, you know, like a saddle or bar tape or something else on it to kind of clean it up, or tires, stick with something that's more neutral. Turning out selling bikes and so forth, anything that has something flashy on there can turn off somebody towards your product versus wanting to buy it, and that is apparently true in a lot of things. I already knew that, but in this situation, it definitely transpired into that. I've had people in the past say, hey, can you take that white tape off and replace it with black? I'm like, okay, I will do it. I get it, you know, but you know, whatever. Can you reuse bar tape? Sometimes. It's one of those things where if you can get it to take it off without tearing it up, because a lot of these have a sticky back to them, and sometimes it just tears, so you just can't reuse it. So sometimes you can though. I've reused some bar tape. I pulled some off that didn't match the bike that I thought would be kind of cool. Anyway, that kind of deal. So what I'm doing right now is I'm securing these cables down so they fit snug. You can't really wrap your bars with these cables hanging out. Oh, I got it all twisted. Okay. And you want it to be a clean flush tape. You don't have to go crazy. I actually go a little bit longer than I usually do, but you know, actually probably just use maybe 6 inches. Will suffice. And I do it in 2 spots. I put it in the corner bend, and then I put it up here, because when you wrap the bars, this cable can shift up and down, that kind of thing. So got my, and this is a great time to have these shifters adjusted, because when you have bar tape on there, and when you want to move these around, it's going to be a booger. So you want to make sure they're adjusted. And how to make sure that they're in the right position is, there's an old school trick, hack, whatever. You take a ruler, flush it on the bottom of the handlebar here, and you kind of take a measurement with your finger and go to each side and measure it out. So you know you got the height. Then you got angles, so you want to make sure this is straight. Or not, it could be either way, preference-wise. And side to side is not as critical as the height, because you can shift these back and forth a little bit to actually you know, do those minor adjustments. But up and down, that's where the tape gets all bound up in here. So you want to make sure this length is where you want it to be. If you're switching out bars, I would do some measurements as much as you can to get that so you can mimic the same angle of the flush of the bar here. And there's a whole bunch of different bar angles and shapes and so forth. So you may not be able to mimic. If you have to shift it up a good 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, you may have to rewrap the bars or just pull the tape back down to here and then push it up or down so you have a clean wrap, wrap there. If you ride on it for a while, like this particular tape has a sticky back to it, this is going to be harder to reuse, especially if you put a lot of pressure on it for a couple of rides. You might have to replace the bar tape. Good thing though, bar tape's not that expensive. Well, some of it. Then you can get the expensive kind. You want the if you want to use a nice high-end bar tape and you're still monkeying around on type of angles and so forth, you're not set, I would hold off on that bar tape until you knew your dial, then you put on that nice bar tape. And, a couple little tips and tricks there. Gold nuggets, if you will. So prior to start wrapping, I always like to preset my tape that's ready to go. I cut an angle on it so it's a pyramid, so it's doesn't have a corner to flip up and catch. Close up on that is making a little tab so when this stretches, it doesn't have that edge to catch on when it's underneath. I'm gonna do that when I wrap up too. The wrapping, no pun intended. Anyway. Okay, so my tape's there. I got these. Oh, I need to pre-cut my underneath pieces. This is how I wrap. And there's 100 different videos of different ways of wrapping and so forth. This is how I do it. All the ways are fine too. I'm not here to get in a debate about that. But these little guys here, these are like the extra end pieces. I cut my own. I like them longer. These are not as pliable sometimes. That come with the package. So some of them are printed with like decaling on them. So what you'll see is somebody will use electric tape underneath and then they'll put this over top for decoration, that kind of thing. So underneath here, I like to not have too much overlap to bulk up the underneath the shifter, so I like to be pretty flush. These have sticky backs too. And you'll notice some of these will have a different type of tape. It'd be the same color as the actual what you're putting on there. It's okay, it just gets covered up. It's not a shortcut for them. It's just whatever it is. So, make sure I get my scissors in the reachable place. All right. So this tape has decaling on it. This one has SRAM on there. I like to wrap this so when you're looking down at the bars, you actually read it. And also when it rolls out, you can actually read the SRAM going that way. It doesn't matter, for functional form, it's more just attention to details. That's where the professionalism of attention to details really becomes apparent. When I look at bikes to buy, I can tell if it's been wrapped by somebody professionally or somebody just wrapped it themselves. That's one of the little tidbits that we look for. And also they match. So, if it's right side up here and upside down on the other side, somebody wasn't really paying attention. Which is okay, it's like, as long as it's wrapped evenly and clean. And you want to put a little tension. I'm constantly pulling tension on this to hold it in place. And I go a little bit wider down here because people's hands are not usually at the bottom of the bars as much are on the top parts in this area. So I like to leave a little extra padding for that side. A good little crossover. Ooh. Take all that off. Now it's, yeah. Only if I have longer arms. Okay, there you go. So this is where I start kind of having a little bit more of an overlap. This is where the hands have, so you're adding more padding. So there's a lot of different types of tape out there. There's tape that's thicker, one that has gel built into it and all this. This is just a standard cork or synthetic cork tape. Looks good, it holds up. Doesn't have the extra padding, but sometimes extra padding will widen the bars a little bit, and that actually is discomfort to some people. So, you know, it's kind of like it is definitely a personal preference. Once you get to riding a lot, this is more of a neutral type of tape. And it's really good if you're selling a bike to replace this. It makes it look cleaner first, and second, this is a dirty point. You know, people sweat on it, that kind of thing. I can line up my cuts with where I want it to end to be wrapped up. So it's kind of like, yeah, to put it in a more scary terms, like it's kind of like wearing somebody else's sweaty socks. You know, it's like, you're not gonna do that. So why don't you replace this bar tape and make it clean? And it really does clean up the bike. That goes for grips for mountain bikes and all that too. So, and it's an inexpensive way to spruce up a bike for even personal use, or if you were planning to sell it and you've upgraded to something else. Hopefully you upgraded to something else. And this here, again, I put that, cut the corners off. So it lays down, it doesn't flip up. So yeah, Rocky Mountain is a pretty cool little bike. You know, kind of geeked out on this one when I put it together. It's a nice Columbus aluminum with Columbus carbon fork with carbon on the back there and the chain stays, which this vintage period, Le Mans were doing this, and also Trek made some Gary Fishers like this too, with that carbon back there, which just adds a little bit lighter and vibration absorption, that kind of deal, which is kind of nice. So, put my plugs in. I'll leave a little extra on the end there so you can fold it in. That's the trick here. Then you pop it in, so you'll get a better view when I go on that side. So yeah, this also has the Cosmic Mavic wheels, which were very popular for the time. Very smooth, worked really well, very durable wheels. They're a little out of true, but mostly dirty. So clean those guys up, shoot them up, and the hubs are sealed bearings, which is a pretty nice little thing. So yeah, talking before, like wheels are about a third of the bike. So that's pretty good. So decaling, a little extra overhang. So yeah, it's turned out to be a pretty solid little bike. And what's kind of cool is you're not going to see yourself. So if you're into unique road bikes, and it's one of those things that if you pick this guy up, you're not going to see a duplicate of you out there with all the other Treks and Specializes and all that. And some people really get that, you know, so it's what they want to get into. It's kind of cool. And yeah, if this was my size, I would probably ride it for a while before I decided to sell it. And that's kind of, you know, the fun part of doing this is I rotate bikes every 2-3 months, try something different. Because when I was in the shop, and when you were in bike shops, when you work in bike shops, you're kind of pigeonholed with the brands that you sell. They really give you that, you know, employee discount or what have you. So if you're a Trek dealer, you're not gonna ride a Specialized, that kind of thing. So being what I'm doing now, I don't have that brand commitment. So what's really cool about that aspect of it is I've gotten to try out some titanium bikes and Cannondales and brands I've never ridden before or had a chance to. And just to see how they ride, it was kind of fun, you know. So that's where I get into the riding multiple ones over a year or two. But there's been a couple I did find that are, you know, part of my collection that I'm not ever going to sell. And that happens too, which is fun. And I'm so lucky that my wife is very understanding of that and is okay with that. So as long as this, you know, doesn't take up too much space. So I put the pointy thing on this again, so it wraps underneath. It's nice and clean. Roll my hoods back down. This is the better shot of folding that over. A lot of these are reflectant, which is nice. You can also put mirrors and stuff down here as well, or even lights that flicker, which is kind of cool. It's a nice little accessory to those. So you can really, and I always leave enough room here if somebody wants to put a bike computer, lights, and all that kind of thing. That's usually the go-to spot on that. All right. Now I gotta put my tags on it. It's been refurbished by Noah Guy Bicycles. And put my little QR code on there. So if anybody sees this bike and goes, hey, where'd you get that? I'll just snap that. And I got these little stickers and I was like, oh, I'm trying to figure out sizes. And I bought a set that was too big and I bought 5,000 or too small. But the small ones are perfect to go underneath and protect the frame where the cable rubs. So, like, function and marketing all in one. That kind of thing. There you go. Now it's ready for its new owner and a lot more miles to ride. Get back on the road. So yeah, thank you for hanging out with me and watching this video. If you made it to this part, subscribe to my YouTube channel or go to my Facebook page, like me there. You'll get some tidbits and blogs and all that there as well. If you see any bikes like this that you want to check out, or other bikes that you're in the market of looking for road bikes, go to my website at noahguybicycles.com. I have all my current product up there that I've refurbished. These are all this is not a manufacturing kind of thing, you know. As you've seen, I take my time on each and every one of these and pour my heart and soul because I love doing this. And you'll see all the spec sheets on there and also geometry so you can figure out what size. Also, I do have a blog to kind of help you figure out what size do you take kind of thing. There's, you know, you can blow your brain up looking at all the stuff on the internet and that kind of thing. So anyway, well, thank you for spending the time with me. Until next time, from the garage.